children to get the best possible experience academically and socially, it is important for earlier practitioners to understand their role in the early childhood setting. Here in this video, we will seek to highlight some of the many roles of the early childhood practitioner and the importance of these roles. Here to assist you in understanding these roles are Rochelle Tanis, Josephine Ochoa Ramlochan, and Malisa Lambert. Even though we are from different Caribbean islands, we share the same sentiment about the roles of an early childhood educator. Please sit back and enjoy this documentary, and I do hope in the end you will have a better understanding of your role as an early childhood practitioner.
As an early childhood educator, your roles are of great importance to the development of young children. What you do can impact tremendously on the way the child learns and develops, and also influences the quality of service provided. Therefore, it is very important that early childhood practitioners know and understand just how important their many roles are within the early childhood setting.
Role of the observer in ECCE. The role of the observer is to take mental notes of important details during each interaction. Notice the obvious clues as well as the more subtle ones. Teachers have to practice observation consistently because it is based on a lot of what they do for and with the child with children on a daily basis. It can determine how the environment will be set up. Observation is an important aspect of assessing children, the program and the environment. And observation goes hand in hand with assessment. But that is only one form of assessment. There are others such as checklists, etc., which is aided through observation. Observation is very important to children and their families because when the teacher, during his or her observation, is able to identify certain things about a child, such as if the child needs any additional services to support their learning, the teacher will then notify the family so as to start the process of getting the help which will be needed. Observation skills will allow teachers to better meet the needs of each child's social, emotional, and intellectual needs. So therefore, good observation is understanding children. This can be a bit difficult at times because of factors which can influence children's behavior, such as their culture, health, different stages of development. If they are tired or hungry, can make a lot of difference in their behavior. And adding to that can be the noise level, congestion, or even the time of day. So observing children at critical moments is also important. Observation can improve the teacher's teaching style, and he or she cannot have any biases and must be objective. Wait and see, don't be quick to jump to conclusions. The teacher as a planner, he or she is one who provides education for pupils and students. Teachers are generally planners. It is a very essential role and skill a teacher must possess in order to be successful at teaching. Daily planning will allow the teacher to know what is needed for the next day. And a good planner is flexible so as to make necessary changes depending upon feedback from observation of the children. Planning is also important because it gives the teacher confidence and is generally a good sign of professionalism.
A facilitator wears many hats. A facilitator is one who serves as a guide to the children in their care. The facilitator role is to make sure that the classroom environment is set up to accommodate each child's individual learning needs. The role of the facilitator is to do research and planning while seeking out new information about children and their way of learning, and to reflect on how educational theory relates to the particular program. According to John Dewey, he believes that the role of the teacher in the early childhood setting should be more of a facilitator than an instructor, coaching the children along the learning process. In doing this, children are not viewed as passive recipients observing information. The role of the communicator is to communicate on a daily basis with parents, practitioners, children, the general public, and the administrator. As a communicator, you have to feel comfortable asking questions, seeking advice, and sharing your experience. Communicate also listen instead of talking all of the time. As a communicator, we are instrumental in children's language development. Children learn receptive language skills by listening to others, speaking around them and to them. They learn how language is structured and develop from simple speech to a more complex language use. Studies have shown that young children in the early years between ages 3 to 5 have the capacity to learn many different languages, but if they're not sufficiently exposed, they lose the ability to construct language and may even become mute, like the story of Jeannie. Jeannie, the little girl whose parents locked her up and didn't communicate with her much for a number of years. As a result, she wasn't able to develop language beyond its simplest structure. If children do not hear language used often within those critical years, they lose the ability to learn language effectively. Vygotsky supports the practitioner role as a facilitator and a communicator through his social culture theory of learning, where children learn from those more knowledgeable who guide them as they develop mastering skills within their zone of proximal development. Children also learn while communicating with a practitioner who not only helps them to learn how to communicate effectively, but also to think critically when the teacher stimulates children's thinking skills by asking, probing, and open-ended questions during activities.
In the role of a manager, the early childhood practitioner has the task of managing the children to prevent disruptive and antisocial behaviors, which can affect children's social emotional development. As such, the practitioner teaches children how to work well together and resolve conflict, helping them to learn how to become good citizens who function well in society. As the manager, the early childhood practitioner also manages the environment. Maria Montessori stated that children learn and develop well in a prepared environment where materials are age and developmentally appropriate and fosters children's independence as they learn to do things for themselves. Additionally, the practitioner would manage the design and functionality of the environment to enable children's active exploration and discovery. They manage the furniture, equipment, and facilities, ensuring that they are appropriate, safe, and healthy, replacing broken and non-functional resources to prevent accidents or injury. Additionally, the early childhood practitioner plays a vital role as the manager in events of disasters or other emergencies to coordinate children's safe return home, ensuring that facilities are protected from damages, and manages resources so that the school can resume as soon as safely possible. In the role of manager, the practitioner also assesses activities, the children's development, and themselves to ensure that the program and everything included meets the developmental needs of all children and their families. They manage the early intervention and coordination of inclusive resources that a child might need to support their special needs. And finally, the early childhood practitioner has the task of managing school finances, budgeting funds to purchase much needed materials and resources, upgrade the center, provide training for teachers, thus ensuring the continuity of the center with the provision of quality services for children, their families, and the community. As the assessor, The early childhood's development for strengths, weaknesses, and any red flags that would indicate the need for early intervention services. They also conduct self-assessments on themselves to reflect on their ability to perform their roles effectively and to develop themselves as professionals. Additionally, as assessors, they review the program and services provided, checking to ensure that it is of the highest quality in order to make any necessary changes for improvement.
We have looked at some of the many different roles of the early years practitioner in ECCE setting, from facilitator, observer to manager, among others. Unlike other professionals, who get to choose their clients, educators don't have such privilege to do so. The teaching profession allows him or her to be very emotionally connected to the children in their care, and they form bonds with children and their families because of all the characteristics which they possess and many roles which they have to fill. Each role ultimately determines the success or failure of various aspects within the early childhood setting.